いつも誰よりも正しかった。だから龍さんは正義を捨ててなんかない。正義は生き続けてる。龍さんの中に正義はある。正義はあなたと生きて帰ることです。だから絶対に離さない。
What an emotional roller coaster this episode was. Like, this episode was definitely one of the best directed episodes, in my opinion. If you guys have been around on the channel, been around on the reviews, especially for DanMachi over the past couple of seasons so far, then you know, and I've tried to make this fact very evident, is I do not like backstories. I do not like flashbacks, generally. I don't mind a quick one, like, you know, hey, quick 30-second quick flashback just to add some additional context. But when we get like these big meaty flashbacks, especially for like in this instance, and like a familia that we know unequivocally got all killed off, I am not a big fan of. But I will say, and I will admit, and I will say I'm wrong in this instance. This is the one moment to where I think the flashback and backstory not only provided us additional context, I think it was done really, really well. I have also been wondering, you know, I've been wondering, as maybe you have as well, if you're not familiar with the source material, what the hell happened to the Estrella Familia? We know that they got, we know that they fell into a trap by Jura and his familia. We know that the Juggernaut had the big monster that the dungeon concocts. We know that they had a big part in that. But what the hell happened? Well, in this episode, we finally see the huge explosion that Bell set off last week's episode in the Coliseum. We see them seamlessly transition that into an explosion that happened in the past with the Blaze Rock stuff. It was a dope-ass transition, too. So they transition into that, and we see the Juggernaut that was summoned in the past that wiped out the Estrella Familia. And we see the Juggernaut come and just annihilate the Familia. And part of me, I think, you know, they did it pretty expediently. They did it pretty quickly. But, I mean, the Juggernaut comes through and it just wipes out, like, 80-90% of the Estrella Familia, to where at the point where the Juggernaut runs through them, there's only 4 members left, including Ryu. We have the Sword Girl, the Pink Hair Girl, and Rhea Estrella, I don't know, the red hair girl, the captain, whatever the main captain was. That was all that's left. And basically we see them, you know, sacrificing their lives so that Ryu could live on and be the best of them at this point, because they were all heavily injured. Ryu she got effed up too, but she was more in shock than anything else. And they give up their lives so that Ryu could live on. Wow. That is a huge weight, and it makes a lot, it brings a lot more context to Ryu's character. Like, we know that she wanted to get revenge. We know that she wanted to be vengeful. We know that she is scared shitless when it comes to the Juggernaut, you know, the Juggernaut drive. You know, we know that she's just scared, and it all makes a lot more sense now when we got to see the moment at where her familia was wiped out, where we got to see her go through trying to get revenge and, you know, eventually ending back up at Estrella's feet and asking her to leave Aurario. Like, that was an amazing scene. And I just think that it provided context, a really good backstory. Now, the one thing that kind of trips me up about it a little bit is the Estrella Familia was, like, on par, if not stronger than, like, the Loki Familia at that point in life. So the one thing is like, I understand the Juggernaut is incredibly powerful, but I figured that they would have put up more of a fight. Like, the Juggernaut just really comes through and he just wrecked. Like, he just destroyed the Familia within, like, a blink of an eye, which is insanity. And I really felt bad for Pink Hair Girl, too. Not only did she get blinded because of what happened to her, but then she got, like, skewered. Like, she got, like it was crazy, this episode, the way it showed us and depicted how the Familia got just annihilated. It's insanity. The rest of the episode, outside of the Juggernaut, I did want to focus on as well, is one thing that this episode of the show did really, really well. and I love when storytelling goes to this point, is like it showed us something like very, very important, and it was emotional, right? Ryu goes to exact and get her revenge. She completes it. Like, she does it, right? And one thing in life, you know, for the most part, I would say 95% of the time is true, is after you have gotten revenge on, you know, whatever, you never feel good after, right? Let's say you're a kid in school and, you know, some kid throws milk on at you in the cafeteria, right? So you wait to get your revenge and you like bop them in the back of the head, or you hit them back with like an orange juice, you know, and maybe it's squash after that. For the most part, you tend to not really feel good. It was just something that you wanted to do because you were yearning to do. Now, that might be a bad example, but at the end of the day, I think this episode teaches us a lesson as like, revenge hardly ever is the answer. Justice tends to be the answer, right? Like, having people atone for their bad mistakes tends to feel better than getting what she got, which is just massacring everybody involved with that stuff. Now, you could argue that dealing with Evilus, dealing with Jura and his familia, like, they had it coming based on all of their evil crap that they were doing. So we won't argue that. They had it coming. But I think a different form of more justice to where they can atone, imprison, all kinds of stuff, I think is a much better, it would be a much better feeling versus what happened. And I just think it really teaches us that lesson. I really love that. We also got to see the end of the episode too. So after we got all of that stuff, you know, after we got the pleading with Estrella, we got her leaving Aurario, basically leaving Ryu with her blessing, but, you know, basically saying, you ain't justice no more. That left obviously an imprint, and then we see when she got founded by the girls that work at the diner cafe place. Then we transition back to her and Belle finally, and I love, basically, like, at this point she is Belle's, you know what I mean? And I don't mean it in like in a bad way. You know, it might be a one-sided love kind of thing, and Belle doesn't exactly, he's not the character at this point to really deal well with that specific scenario. And he may never end up with her in a romantic type sense, but she does, at this point, she belongs to Belle. Like, she has given, like, it's very evident that she has given, like, her everything to him, or will give everything to him, including her life, right? And he is holding on to that like it's something more precious than anything else. And with his refusal to not let her die or anything. And, you know, he had a really big speech of how she's his hero. And I love that. You know, I just think that the moments that they shared were tender, heartfelt, and genuine. And it's even more escalated when Belle gets attacked by that monster, and she was like losing her shit about it. And Belle was like, he was a little embarrassed. He's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just trying to draw the monster in to kind of get one up on it. And she goes flush red, and I thought that was incredibly cute. But he carries her out, and, you know, they end up at like this, you know, he blew a hole in the Coliseum. They end up at this secret pathway, basically no one's discovered before. And they found this little pond or lake of blue water. Hopefully it has healing properties, but they go there, and she heals him up a little bit, and they share another tender moment. So hopefully it has healing properties so they can get a little life back in them, you know. But I just love that the moments that they shared, they're so genuine and they're so well written. And I think the context of the backstory that we had, the context that Belle gave Ryu of like, no matter what you say about what you did, it won't change it won't change how I feel about you. You can feel however you want, but you're not going to change my feelings towards you. This is how I perceive you in my eyes. No matter what you do, you can't change that. He's like, so I won't let you go. And I'm just like, wow. You know, it's just so good. It's just so good. So overall, I think this episode was incredible. 10 out of 10. Like, I was just excited and enthralled and just like over the moon about this episode. I just think it was just so well written. So one of my favorite episodes this season for sure. I think this was a 10 out of 10. And even with the backstory that I tend to not like, I just think the context, the value that it provided was just incredible. So let me know what you guys thought of this episode down in the comments below. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.